Good morning, everyone, and happy Tuesday. Tuesday, December 27th. Okay, I'm doing all of my morning routines here, and actually, this year I want to start actually doing a better job of maintaining my social media. So, we're going to look at all of my social media things and see what we've got going on. I'm going to update my social media as well because I've got like Art Pal and things that I don't even know what I'm doing with all these things. And web comics I just downgraded, so I can move those to aging. And I'm just looking through. So I'm trying to figure out. Good morning, Pepper. So Pepper, this season, I am going to try to do better about maintaining my social media at the start of the week. So I have a folder which shows. Can I get to the other bookmarks? Can I get to bookmarks without doing that? Right? I'm just thinking. Hey, bookmark manager. There we go. Bookmark manager. There's an entire thing about bookmark manager here. Check that out. All right, so I've got my Patreon here, my DeviantArt, my TweetDeck for better or for worse. I don't really need you, so we can put you there. Welcome to Westminster. Alignable. I probably don't need that. My LinkedIn. I've got a Tapastic thing, which I don't know. No longer use that, really. I'm not going to use that. There's no reason to make this more complicated than it needs to be. Right? Got Facebook GS Davis. We don't have Facebook Facebook Quasar Art Collective. So I'm going to try to go to Facebook and fix that problem. Add that to my daily social media run. Right. Let's see. Quasar Art Collective. Public group. This is not the page. No, good. This is exactly what we're looking for. So say Quasar Art Collective. Bring it to choosing daily social media or weekly social media. See you in a bit. There we go. So now that's in here. Aging no longer visit. So what I'm doing now is reorganizing all of my social medias so that we have control of everything here. And I can just go down the line and post every week. One of the things we don't do regularly is go to Patreon and say hi to all the patrons and everything like that. I used to do what we called a state of the art post, which sort of said, where are we right now? And I'm not doing that at the moment. And I mean, we're broadcasting on a lot of different channels, but I'm not actually engaging. Right? Like, we don't have a couple of other things that we really should have on here. So, this art Twitter done. Put that in there in the bookmarks. If anybody's asking, what is it with me and why am I still on Twitter? The answer I've got is exactly the same as the answer that Vinny Arcade put on there. Hello, Brent. Which is, I work here. Why are you here? So that's a thing. Right? So I do still have ZoStream, but I don't think I'm going to use that as much. I feel like that's still a thing I could use, though. And I feel like Tapastic comics were a thing that I did, but I'm not sure I'm going to continue doing. I'm going to age out my Twitter board because there's no reason to have that. I'm going to keep my LinkedIn on here, but I'm going to keep it last and only use LinkedIn whenever we do Springs comics, because I think everybody likes Springs comics. They're pretty accessible. Comics. We'll log in there. And we will go to Foxtail Comics, and I will say this one. I will say get daily social media too, and then we will set up Global Comics is now a regular spot to visit. So I'm adjusting my I'm adjusting the Global Comics. There we go. That way. It's not as messy. That was a pretty messy thing. All right. Patreon, GS Davis Art Quasar on Facebook, and then my DeviantArt page, my Instagram page, my Twitter page, my LinkedIn page, and my Global Comics page. Those seem to be, yeah. I think I want to on Mondays do a maintenance day where we go through and maintain the world of GS Davis art, because frankly, I'm not getting any outreach at all because nothing ever updates. The only things that update are these streams, and that's fine, but people don't necessarily want to watch all these streams, so I probably should put my Twitch TV in here and just check to make sure nobody did anything on Monday. I mean, because I've noticed that sometimes I log into my Twitch stream and something's happening, but I'm not sure what. I'm channeling. Look at us channeling. All right. This is weird watching me. I shouldn't watch me. It's very strange. There we go. Don't want to update my username. Don't need to disable my thing. I just need to go to home. Where does it say me? Okay. I guess I could just leave it at this. Twitch.tv and just that's it. It's fine. All right. This week's my last week to work on Bellatrix Rising before we have to buckle down for Airship 27 next week. So we're going to be doing Bellatrix this week. As much as possible, I'm going to try to finish up the skeleton around Momentary Ghosts issue 2 and 3 so that we can get started on those. And then we'll move on to Airship 27 starting next week, so that it'll be out the door. But for the moment here, I am just trying to get these things kind of figured out here. That's the goal for yeah, and Kapooey Comics needs to be checked in on every week. So now we have, not only every week, you guys can look down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 spots that need to be visited every Monday. Well, I haven't actually been assigned Silver Pentacle 3, but that's the battle plan is to get Silver Pentacle 2 out the door so that it'll be out. Because I really want to, I mean, I really want to get that out the door because it's hanging over me quite a bit. So, the more I can get it out the door, the better. All right, social media work. All right, looking at all the things. All right. Okay, daily social media now lives at a higher place on my bookmark bar, always a plus. Apple is on my bookmark bar, apparently. Who knew? Bing is on my bookmark bar. Oh, Google is on my bookmark bar. Look at all these places that are on my bookmark bar. Good heavens, people. Castbox should be moved up here because I actually like listening to podcasts. All right. I think I finally brought my bookmark bar up to something reasonable. So one of the other problems that I've been running into is that my bookmark bar has become complicated. It's like not making any sense anymore. How to lose a fan in 10 seconds. Is that you? Would I lose you in 10 seconds? Where'd you go? Oh, I'm looking through I'm looking through all of the things that I use a lot. I feel like I should move my randomizers up front because I use those randomizers all the time. And I've got all these randomizers that I use that just do everything. Right? So you still want to print a warp core. What we need to do is print something for that thing that makes it like have little like, you know, so cool. I mean, it's pretty cool as it is. I guess I shouldn't really complain. It looks pretty awesome by itself, but still pretty cool. Something with like frosted glass in it. All right. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to switch to you. There we go. Let's get back to work on here. Oh my goodness. My goodness. All right. Okay, we got to patch some holes in the story arcs before things go on here. So the reason I'm pausing here, and maybe I just need to talk this one out, so it's look more accurate. Let's see. Those are all Enterprise D warp cores. There's an Enterprise warp core in XO1. See that one? That's cool. There's some good ones in here. They all look relatively accurate. I don't know, man. Yeah, you distracted me. Let's get back to work here. Okay. Okay, so looking at here's the problem that I'm having right now. I love this sequence right here where Alex sort of talks to the cat, and that whole like thing happens where the cat talks and starts sort of laying out a little bit of the subplot going on for Alex. But we need to wrap up what's going on here. And we need to deal with the fact that we've got a couple of other plot parts that need to be dealt with. I'm focusing on this scene because I love it so much, but the truth of the matter is it's not actually as a big or important a scene as we need it to be. So one of the big important scenes for the plot is what happened at Moment, right? And that's going to have to be a big chunk of what's going on here. So, and I'm thinking it through. How would this work? First of all, the moment the Polaris is back in system, the Kittiwak's going to be ending up at the Polaris. And I think this scene right here is on Moment. And it can be the princess with Mayrel and we just need to make sure that there's something like we'll gather our stuff and head out. On Moment, the princes, the mayor, and Mayrel. Because I mean, it's going to have to be something that shows that Who else would be down there with her? And Senator. Makes some sense. The Senator would be there. And Arbo. All right. So if we've got all of these guys, they're dropping off the Senator and Alex joins. What I'm going to do is I can give a couple of pages for this. I'll move this to in here. I'll move this to here. There. Move all the way out to there. And call this a scene. Move, recover. There we go. More recover. We have to remember to say recovered princess. Mayrel to Pilot House. Okay. And then this would be the wow. Moment was a difficult mission, wasn't it? Yes, it was, Captain. Ha 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 ha. Where are we going to next? The next mission. Let's go. You know, that kind of thing. That's what this is, because it's a Star Trek-esque thing, so. Episode with warp out of whatever is the effect. I mean, I won't do that, obviously, but I now know we'll be leaving at the end of this episode. That puts us at 96 pages for this. All right. Right, exactly. You got it. Let's crack open some beers. Yeah, that's. I mean, it is Star Trek-esque, so right. Boobs. Anyway. So now the only problem I've got, and I'm pretty happy with everything else kind of going in here, is I don't want the QuaCk engaging in an actual battle. It's too early in our story arc universe to have, you know, as Q says, make phasers and photons ready. Yeah. It's a little early for that. So I'd rather that we had the QuaCk just bugging out somehow. And it might be even cool to see that Chang is starting to set up something in her head to try to make something go down here. Like she's got a tactical plan of some sort. Because I like the idea that she's coming up with something clever and cool, and then the Polaris shows up. Because there's a lot of... I want them all to be very confused. Right? Them to all be confused, right, George? Confused. Yeah. So... Hi. How are you? Are you visiting for the day? Is this your daily visit? Your daily visit of floofness, being a floofball? You're a floofy cat. So do you have any ideas on this? I mean, you know, got Alex talking to one of your people, although your people is like... Yeah, absolutely they can. They can project that. However, they also use their black hole drive to produce gravity walls, which make it really, really hard to put a black hole through it. Because, of course, that would be the first thing we would do. Right? So what you can do with gravity is effectively put a square of space and project it as a wall of intense gravity that's very thinly sliced and has, you know, no real effect outside of it. And if you're controlling gravity, you can pretty much control space-time on that one. So if I were to... One of the ways that I would defend my ship, if I were to do something like that, would be to produce effectively a gravity moat. You've got a gravity well and you've got a gravity moat, right? You are in the island in the center of this gravity well. So the gravity well goes down on either side and comes up in the center and has... Well, see, that's what you get for... Don't fuss with my mouse. Don't fuss with the things. What are you doing? You're just knocking stuff over. You're just knocking stuff over, you weird cat. Hi. My mustache? I must ask you a question. I must ask you a question. All right, so if you think of gravity wells, right? We think of... You're making this really hard. You're like, do not do this in this space, and you have a gravity well, right? And you can project this gravity well from your spacecraft. Right, here's your spacecraft. And we can project this by generating a gravity well. The spacecraft can also generate, while it's at it, a gravity moat, which looks like this. Not necessarily. So if you were to project your gravity well, let's say here's your opposing ship, right? You're projecting a gravity well, it'll get caught up in this gravity moat, right? And as soon as we have the gravity moat, the gravity well will get stuck in the moat and it won't be able to get out of the moat. In fact, maybe we should call it something like a gravity moat, because that's a more interesting thing. So when you have from, like, if you're looking at the top view of the spacecraft, right? It's creating a zone around it whereby there's a larger zone of high gravity pit, right? Gravity pit, right? You believe in gravity pits because you believe in everything. And this gravity pit that can finely tune it to be really close like this if we need to, so that there's a wall where all things end up in these pits around it, but also it affects very little around them. They've got a fine-tuning capability. Multiple things, though. Shields cannot be raised because of the nature of in space. You cannot possibly raise a pit or drop a moat, I guess. Make a moat in space. If you do, it'll destroy your ship and every ship around it. You just wipe them all out. Because messing with gravity in space is super dangerous. So I'll make this clear. I wonder if I could take and make this in Blender, because it'd be kind of cool to see it. He likes to sit here and get scritches and cuts. As he's George, that's what he does. This is the George thing. It's the George thing. 938 for the George. Alright. We've already finished this work, so we're going to then make a new thing. New general. Add mesh. We'll put a plane in. Right. We can do sharp, and then we can resize this plane. Not that. We should subdivide it by bajillions. Although cool, so we'll cancel that. lattice? Is it lattice that I want to do? No, it's not. One of these modifiers does what I'm looking for. Yep. Well, now you've gotten me over here, and so now I'm going to do this real quick. I'm actually still thinking of stuff. Okay, so, no, it's not subdivision surface. Let's think about this one. While we're doing work out here on this, talk to me about the thought process that we need to do here with, I know, it's all good. I don't want them to get into a shooting match for multiple reasons. One, obviously, it's silly for them to get. We've got a destroyer, 2 light cruisers, a heavy cruiser, and like a bunch of freighters. So 1 Corvette's going to do nothing in that situation, and it's going to be unpleasant, in fact, for them to try to pick a fight in there. So there's no point in them picking a fight. So, what? Does it decimate? No. So what do we do? What will happen here? Kind of thinking something like Chang goes to the gas giant in the system to flip the widget on a space station in hopes to set fire to, you know what I mean? Like, what could she do that sounds plausible and maybe a little like brutal and reckless? Like, things are going to go bad here if we do this, so we can't really do this if we don't have much of an option on it. We'd like to not do this. Something that we can kind of come up with that shows that she's got a tactical brain, does tactical stuff. This straight up control. Edit mode. Go to edit mode. Edit mode. Menu. Mesh. Engine. Subdivide. All right. So, yeah, right, exactly. Like, can we pull the moon on them or something? Can we do something? The Corvette's never going to be able to generate enough energy or power to I want really good grid there, like that. It's never going to be able to generate enough of a power unit of which to defeat the ship's gravity pits, which sounds like armpits except different. So maybe pits are not the thing. Gravity mode. All right. So we need to come up with something where she's got an idea of doing something that's probably markedly bizarre and crazy. Mesh, add a circle. There we go. Nope. Don't move the circle. Grow the circle. Right. And then, something like that where she can even say, well, I think this calls for the Pegasus maneuver. And what? Why? We can't do that. That won't work like we think it will. It never works well for people. People always think that works. And it never does. Yeah. Because that'd be kind of funny and interesting. Why are we not selecting? So that is exactly what I'm thinking about. So maybe something of that ilk. Right. Something exactly like that. We're looking. You're on it. Okay, so we got to think of something sort of like that. I'll have this figured out in a second here. You come up with good random names. I like Hydra's Gap. That's a good one. All right. Now what we can do is take this, get it set for that, do this. It can be a little bit smooth. Like that. That looks cool. right? That's kind of cool. And then you can kind of really quickly see exactly what's going on here. Wow. Yeah, I think you're onto something. I think the real thing that needs to happen here is um, we'll put this in here. Just make a note of it. Because you said it, and now I'm like, well, now I don't want to forget it. Because we did the thing. We talked about defense systems. We should talk about this, the defense system. All right. Now we'll move back to here, and there's no way that she's going to be able to fight them in a stand-up fight. So let's put this here. Well, I actually think oh, you know what we're not doing? We're not doing the Star Trek thing. And we really should here. We should have Gravitics call up and say, Captain, something has gone boop-de-boop with the beep-de-bop on the system. And in this system, the system is weird. Something strange with the system. And then Chang say, can we use that to our advantage? Is there some way we can undo it and change everything and whatever? Well, sure. I'm sure. But I'm like sitting there thinking about this, and I'm wondering if there's a way that I can make this work. By the way, if people are sending me things via Facebook, just so you are cognizant and aware, I have to use Firefox for Restream, and I use Chrome for Facebook. So I'm not in Chrome right now, while I do broadcasting. And it was all because for a while there, Chrome was slowing down Restream, and we thought that maybe that was part of the problem. So we've swapped over to Restream temporarily, or to Firefox, to do my Restream broadcast. I'm just saying that because my watch keeps telling me that I'm getting messages from people, but it just says, so-and-so has sent something. So-and-so has sent something. So-and-so. It doesn't tell me what you guys are saying. So I know that people are sending me stuff on Facebook, but I haven't I haven't swapped over to. I have to reconfigure the warp core in order to get there. So Kittywake's on the run. Something about the system. We have something about the fact that can we do something within space? And the question really is, how deep is, I mean, because let's talk about this from a construction point of view, from a story build point of view. And the other reason I want to do something engineering wise is because we have not actually in these 3 episodes introduced, or 3 issues introduced, our illustrious engineer yet, the guy who actually works on the ship's engines. So I need something where it's, hey, let's all sit around and talk about something as we get away from the fight and stuff like that. And and we get away from what's going on at the moment and say, what can we do? And I mean, like, I kind of like the idea of like something like foul the system. I feel like fouling the system might be the thing. Right? Like, if we fly really close to the sun and activate our N-space drive for just a 30th of a second, it'll put beta particles in the entire system. And once the beta particles are in the system, you know what I mean? Like technobabble. Once the beta particles are in the system, then none of us can in-space in or in-space out. And it would trap because that would trap the Commonwealth fleet inbound. Oh, that's it. Okay, I'll see you in a bit. That's the answer. Trap the foul the in-space area around it, around the system. Okay, that's what we're going to do. So, Chang's plan is to foul the system so no in-space travel in or out is possible. That's her plan. We'll be trapped at least moment is a nice word. This doubles down on there's no warp corridor. That's good. And this doubles down on, this gives us the ability to say that there's no warp corridor coming into moment. So you now know that there's no way, once she fouls the system, there'll be no way for ships to travel in and out faster than light in any way. There's no way to fold in, and because there's no fold corridor, and there's no way to warp in using in-space. What about the DD? That's actually a valid question. So, what about the DD? Question mark. And that answer is we'll land. You can join us. Wait the year it'll take to fly into moment, or leave taking a year. To get out. All right. That's it. That's the nature of this scene. That's how this scene will work. So for those of you watching at home, what have I done? So the plot here that we're trying to work through on this comic is, what is Cheng going to do, because she doesn't know what's happening outside of here, right? So her solution to deal with this problem is to pretty much foul the entire system, which will make it impossible to fly around in an in-space for up to 1 light year. And if you do that, then it'll be a bubble of 1 light year around the system, which she will foul. And at that point in time, you'll have to come up to this bubble and then translate into normal space and spend 1 year traveling into Moment's system. So it'll take you, 5 days to go from Bellatrix to here, and then 1 year to get from the outside of the system into the system. That's what we're after here. That's her tactical plan. She's got nothing else she can do, but she knows that as long as the Commonwealth's fleet is 6 light years out and closing fast, right? So the Commonwealth fleet is traveling at a light year every hour. So she's got 6 hours to do something. Well, she's got 5 hours, because if in 5 hours she'll foul the system with effectively a 1 light year wall all around the system. Once she does, it'll be impossible to get in and out of Moment without regular normal space drives. 1 year isn't enough to make a big deal in the grand scheme of the stories, but 1 year will be fine for stalling. So this isn't permanent death for Moment. This isn't going to end Moment's part of the, but it will make it so that so now all we have to do is find a scientific widget to make that work, right? All right. And that gives us a lot of intensity, right? we'll come out of this scene with her saying, okay, we've got about 45 minutes to enact this plan. She can even say, we can even do it where the engineer says, hey, that's going to burn out our engines. Doing that, putting that in effect burns out our engines. I like that. That works. Okay, I'm going to be writing again, right? Really don't care. Because you're George, and that's what George does. This is what George does every day. George is George. He is George. He is George. All right. Didn't really put the stylus out here for you to scratch on. I'm just saying. Goofy ass cat. All right. Love you too. All right. Can I get up to work? To look my I was looking. You smell like food. This is what I tolerate. For being your human. Why do I do this? Why? Hey, can I get back to work now? Thanks. That's the weirdest sensation. Okay. So we have 45 minutes to do this. All right. You're full of hair. You know that, right? You're full of hair. You're a cat full of hair. Okay. All right. Let's patch some holes, Senator. So she's going to have to ask the senator at the moment whether he's okay with this. He's the only ranking member left. Okay, 1 year isn't so bad. Like extended shore leave, Senator. We have 45 to do this. Let's do this. Then we'll change this. You know the Unity intends to follow the system. Yeah, but no. She doesn't. I think she knows something else is going on. So. Me? Yeah. There. Which shows, A, that cat knows what's going on somehow. Somehow he knows what's happening beyond the obvious here. And Alex knows more than the cat. So, because Alex knows that the Polaris is in the system, because Alex can feel the system. So Alex can feel the fold lines. That's something she's got control over. Not control over. She doesn't actually have control over that. She just feels it. So the character Alex can sense what's going on in the network. Right? The network is a different thing than in space. So it's kind of complicated, and that's something I probably ought to make sure I go back over these last two issues and make sure we button down. Because there are three types of travel. There's in-system travel, when you're lower than light speed, and that's using the gravity ball thing and the gravity motes and all of those things that happen in real space. Then there's in-space travel, which is effectively getting onto the interstate freeways, right? And so, if you're driving in town and you're tootling around in town all the time, you can only really go about 30 miles an hour, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But if you're going to leave Colorado and go to Wyoming, you're going to get on I-25. If you're going to leave Texas and head to Louisiana, you're going to get on I-10. You know what I mean? Like, you get on these interstates, and that's in-space travel. And that's using an exploitation of subatomic space and subatomic physics to do that. That allows you to go faster than light, but only to an extent. So it's only as fast as your pilot is. And there are all these disadvantages of being in space travel, like PCs and computational problems, because the way that it works, the Heisenberg uncertainty principle starts messing with things. And so, the electrons moving between processor chips start getting weird and fuzzy, and so AIs start thinking strangely, and they can't work it out. Which is why the ships look like they're something out of steampunk land whenever they're in space, is because you're at physical switches, because the the grooves that need to hold an electron to make an electron work need to be huge, like the size of a wire. So you effectively are down to about 1940s or 1950s sized electron or electrical transition things to prevent Heisenberg uncertainty. You actually can push in space beyond that threshold. It's a mechanical threshold. So at really low in space drives, the width of those barrier jumps can be big enough that the electrons can still travel through it, and it's still okay. But once you get faster, the electrons will start freaking out and being outside of the wires. And once they're outside of the wires, it's not transmitting the information anymore. It's not transmitting power. It's not transmitting anything. So what you're essentially doing is you have to make the faster the faster you go in space, the more erratic the travel is of the electrons in your electricity systems, electrical systems, because of the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. So at some point you exceed a threshold, and they've set a threshold right now for a speed of which we know we can travel at, where the vehicle still operates, but you lose all of your computational power. So you lose the AIs, they go offline. The navigational computer will go offline, things like that. Things start dropping offline. There comes a point where even the power in the spacecraft will drop offline. The engines are designed to manually operate beyond that threshold, because they're designed with power conduits that are this big around, right? So with a power conduit this big, the Heisenberg uncertainty principle says an electron can travel as much as a half a meter, or whatever. If it's traveling half a meter, then you've got quite a bit of movement you can go at before the electricity going to the engine starts traveling outside of the power conduit. However, that's a thing. At some point, you're going to have to, that will exceed, and then your in-space engines will shut down. So they've got a mechanical failure point too. But there's a spatial problem once you're in space, and that's gravity wells become a problem. So in space, the gravity well becomes larger artificially. It's not really larger. It's just that your spacecraft is traveling in such a strange way that it artificially becomes bigger. It makes a bigger footprint in space. So in other words, it's like the universe becomes small. It's you become a human being walking through a miniature version of the universe, which is fine, but you're still susceptible to the gravity wells. So, here you've got this 12-foot by 12-foot map of the universe, except every time you touch a star, it chews up your foot, sort of thing. And so those two things happen because of working in sort of a fake universe that doesn't exist, so to speak, but does exist. So that's how in-space travel works. Well, okay, then you have fold. On top of all of this is an exploitation of something that happened in the plot of the story. There was a war. The war had these phenomenal, powerful engines that were running these spacecraft, far more powerful than we use now. And in the end of the war, the person who solved the problem lured the biggest part of the fleet of the bad guys to a point near Earth and detonated one of those huge engines, and it cracked space. And when it did, it sent spider webs out across space. And those spider webs you can't see, but they're there. And in those spider webs, you can travel using a spacecraft inside the cracks of that space. And as long as it's from one spot to another spot, it's instantaneous. You just disappear and reappear anywhere. It takes seconds. So we have a fold space that's working on top of all of this. But you have to have a massive 2-kilometer long engine to run it. And that's the thing, is to enter into that fold space requires this huge 2-kilometer engine. So the little guys can't use it. Even the big battleships can't use it. It has to be what they call a home ship, or in this case, the Polaris, which was this huge, it's a city sitting on top of one of those engines. So the engine's there, and then they just built a city on top of it. The city is, and it's actually probably not even 2 kilometers, probably more like 10 or 15 kilometers. It's a huge, huge thing, right? And we'll decide what that is when I build the Polaris up and make the city out of the Polaris to see where it's, where it's kind of coming up with here. But that's what's going on. So the plot of this is somehow the character Alex can sense what's happening in those spiderweb cracks. There's also a certain amount of breaking of physics that can be accessed through this. It's a defection in the universe. There's an error, flaw that has been introduced, which is actually what stopped the war. The war did not stop because the person who ended the Titan War broke the universe. The war stopped because there's a race of creatures that can see that and stop the war. It said, stop screwing up with your universe. Stop messing your universe up. So they stopped. These are all things that happened, didn't happen. This is all prior to the story. This is all backstory. So what we need to do here is this brings in a whole bunch of these pieces, parts, and brings in the lore, and it's folding the lore back into this story, which is good. So what we're talking about is this. Chang is talking about putting something, introducing a thing that will turn Moment's star into part of a subatomic flaw or a subatomic error, where it'll spread to 1 light year a mess, static, trash that will make it so that you can't use the subatomic or the superluminal, the in-space drops, inside a 1 light year sphere around the system. Well, if it's 1 light year out where you can't use a faster than light drive, you'll have to drop out of faster than light travel and travel at light speed, which takes a year. It's 1 light year out. In the grand scheme of things, that's a pain in the butt. It's effectively taking out the interstate system in a city, right? And it takes out I-25, it takes out I-70 in the middle of Denver. Okay, not going to ruin everything. You can still get out of Denver and into Denver. You're just going to have to do it via all the surface streets. So you'd have to get off of I-25 at, say, the border of Colorado and drive a 35-mile-an-hour highway into Denver. Well, that could take, hours. Instead of 1 hour from the border to Denver, it's going to take 5. That changes. It doesn't ruin Denver. It won't destroy Denver. It won't make Denver, off the map. But it will make it, it'll be a pain to get into and a pain to get out of. It also makes it impossible for enemy tanks to get into Denver effectively. If we just pretend like there are no airplanes, So, in other words, she's doing sort of this thing where she's kind of bringing up this concept where she's going to foul the system. Now I need to figure out what fouls the system. This is good because we can use this technique later on in the story if we ever want to prevent a ship from, maybe there's a mine that we can make that drops fertile particles. We can call them something that doesn't exist yet. And these particles are produced when you cause, whatever. We already have sort of a technical conceit in the story that's going on right now, where we concede that you can see things in gravity that's faster than light. That's a conceit, because it's not real. In real life, gravity travels, the information from gravity travels at the speed of light. So if for some reason the sun were to suddenly gain 1,000 zillion times of sun's mass instantly, there would be a wave that would go out to tear up Mercury and then Venus, and then 8 minutes later, Earth would be torn up by that wave. In real life, that would be what would happen. In my story, I have a conceit that as soon as the sun hits that point and suddenly grabs a higher level of gravity, it pulls a web, and you can see that web get pulled. Because everything on the web is connected, so it'll all be pulled at the same time. And that's kind of that's a conceit. It's a nod. That way you can see a ship entering into a system real time. Because otherwise, as Honor Harrington often shows, we talk a lot about Honor Harrington in here. That's David Weber's series, book series. In Honor Harrington is Good Morning, Patsy. In Honor Harrington, he talks all the time about the fact that a ship will enter a solar system, and it'll take 40 minutes for the bad guy to see them, because the bad guy's been sitting out there for 3 or 4 days. So when this ship jumps in, he can already see the other ship, because for 3 or 4 days the light has been coming off of that ship, and it's now 3 or 4 light days across the system. So you can see that other ship. But when you jump in, it's going to take 40 minutes for your light to reach him. So you've got a 40-minute jump on it. If you can somehow beat that. So that's what we're kind of working on here, is that in my story, the moment your ship jumps in, this ship will see you, because the web of gravity has been shaken, kind of like a spider web would, right? So the spider web shakes because a fly tugs on the strings of the web, and so a spider can sense when a fly is on the web instantly, right? Even though obviously it would take time for, if you imagine the spider web going across an entire solar system, where, let's say, it takes time for the sound to reach the spider. The sound would reach the spider after, say, the web got pulled. So the spider would sense it by the web getting pulled. So those are conceits that I have made scientifically. So Patsy, we are working on scripting here. Well, we haven't gotten to scripting yet. We're just at story building. This Momentary Ghosts is the first comic that I've made, first episode of Bellatrix Rising. And we're working now on this. And of course, issue 1 is already out, right? This is issue 1 of Bellatrix Rising, Momentary Ghosts. And what we're doing is we're doing issue 2 and issue 3. So I am looking at this and trying to figure out how I'm going to fix this problem. So what has happened is this. We have issue 2 right here. Issue 2, we've got kind of a different problem going on here. We come into the system, and I'll explain the story to you while we're at it. So issue 2, We start out with a flashback sequence where we see Alex skateboarding here in the local area of Colorado. And then she's skateboarding when the world comes to an end. And then she wakes up and she's in the med lab of our hero's ship. Okay. I'll restart. So we're working on issues 2 and 3. Originally, Momentary Ghost was going to be a two-issue episode, but now it's turned into a 3-issue episode, which is fine. Which is good because it is kind of the inaugural episode of Bellatrix Rising. So, issue 1. You can go read, by the way, for those of you who are interested. Issue 1, you can go read on Global Comics, and I will give you the link here in the area. We're going ahead. I'm going to go to Global Comics, and I'll put that in the system here. I'll just get a link for it. Where's the link? Go to release. There it is. All right. So, for those of you who are looking for this, I'm going to put it in the chat. Here's the link for issue 1. System. So we put the link right there in for issue 1. If you are interested in reading issue 1, it is available online. Issue 2 now, we're working on trying to move out of this and move into issue 2. And issue 2 has us starting out now, like I was saying, with by the way, if you just go to globalcomics.com, if you're interested, please register. Oh, thank you. Well, now we're working on the other end of it. All right. So that's what we're doing today. We're plotting all this out because then I can get working on this. So Alex is on a skateboard. Then she wakes up. She's in med lab. In med lab, the doctor can't talk to her. The doctor is talking in a weird language. The language is Tamarabeshi. We meet the fact that Navin can talk to her in perfectly unaccented English because he's an AI, and all he needs to do is just load English into his concept pieces or into his thought processes, and he's good. Then he pretty much says, "I've got to go," and then we dust off. So we know that something is happening. A bad thing is occurring. We're getting a red alert beacon. That's what we see at the end of this sequence here, is that it's saying red alert, man your battle stations. And then we dust off. So we dust off and we prep for battle, and we've got the Kittiwake heading to orbit and stuff like that. And then what we're doing of this sequence here is that we need to make sure we cover that there's no backup. There's no way that they're going to get any help. That now we need to talk about a few other things. So I'm going to go ahead and pick some of this red and get in here, and let's talk about some of the other things we need to talk about here. There's no backup. Wait, let's not do that because we already said that there. There's no fold highway. Right? And if moment we need to somehow mention that no matter what, it's, 10 days to the next Unity base. So we're gonna mention that we need to make sure we tie up some stuff in issue 2 so that issue 3 makes sense. Because at the moment, if we do issue 2 this way, we want to make sure we next Unity base. Story writing is right what you're here for. You're like, I'm up for story writing. So okay, now we're just making sure I'm tying up all my holes. So in episode 3 or issue 3, we're going to be talking about in space a lot. So I want to make sure that what we've got is, even if they push it, it's 5 days, let's say, but no power. So, like I was just saying before, I think before you got here, Patsy, I was talking about the ins and outs of my space drive. My faster than light drive, I've got 2 of them. I've got a fold drive and I've got a kind of a warp drive like Star Trek. The warp drive has pluses and minuses, and the fold drive has pluses and minuses. The fold drive's biggest plus and minus is it is restricted to traveling only in straight lines that were created after a battle had blown up a part of the universe. So the universe has been cracked like an egg, and it's got a bunch of cracks, spiderweb cracks, that go across the entire universe, and you can travel in these cracks with this specialized warp drive, fold drive. And what it does is it pops you out of one area and just makes you appear in another. And so in doing so, you can just pop to another location. Unfortunately, there is no crack that went to Moment. So Moment has no way of getting one of these, these fold ships to come in. And that's the big Polaris. That's the big fold ship. So that's awesome. Gradient and shadow. That's fine. You can create with me, and you can give me opinions if you have them. If you don't, that's also fine. So the in-space drive, which is what you need to use to get to this planetary system, has its own challenges. And one of them is it is an sort of an abuse of subatomic physics. So the way it works is you jump into a subatomic physics alter universe, so to speak. So it essentially turns the world, the universe, into a map at scale. And you travel from point A to point B on the map instead of traveling in real space. So you're not violating light speed because you're still moving across the map. You're just moving, the map has gotten smaller. But the flip side to that is your ship has gotten bigger. You can't perceive this. This doesn't happen in real space. It's not like your ship suddenly gets very large in the middle of the system, but it vanishes out of our visual spectrum and drops into this in space where it's huge. It's a massive ship. So it just travels at normal speed, but the stars are only like 10 inches apart. So traveling at normal speed takes only a minute because it's 10 inches apart, sort of thing. The problem is the scale of the universe, the more you scale it down, the more Heisenberg's uncertainty principle happens, where you can't tell where an atom is and you can't tell where an electron is. So the further into this world you go, the more, first of all, the more electrical transmissions become static. They can't, instead of an electron going from point A to point B, it starts doing this number from point A to point B. So you have to have larger wires effectively to hold electricity. While electricity is moving from point A to point B, the wires have to be bigger. The little teeny wires, like anything that would be inside a processor of a computer, anything like that, not you, anything in a processor, circuitry in a processor would suddenly become too fuzzy. The electrons don't travel anymore. They jump. They jump from electron to electron. So your navigational machines and your AIs and all of those guys start to get confused, and they're not sure what they're thinking and stuff like that. So it becomes more difficult as things go on. And then the faster you go, the more that uncertainty principle expands. So that's kind of what's going on here. We can't use in space. You can't use machines in space. That's one of the reasons why in the first issue we saw them throwing huge switches to turn on the machines, and there were gauges and stuff like that on the ship. So when our pilot got up into the pilot house up front to bring the ship out of in space, you saw her power up the cockpit, and it was a bunch of gauges that went bing, 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 little like levers and things like that, because none of it's running. The technology can't be any more complicated than say 1950. So once you're in normal space, you can bring up holograms, you can have AIs, you can have all kinds of stuff. But you have to be in normal space first. And, there's an error rate. So you just bring the error rate down to something reasonable. So sometimes you can travel in space on the edge, and you're going just a little over the speed of light, and you can still run your AIs because they're just a little confused, not too confused. This could be the first time, though, we're talking to our engineer. So we'll introduce Tom here. Tom Nazato is the engineer and also Chang's best friend. Thank you. So Tom is Chang's best bud, and he's the engineer on board the ship. So we kind of want to introduce Tom here at this point in time and kind of give him a little bit of well, we could do this, but that's not going to work as well as you think it will. So we need to make sure we tie. Yeah, it should. And that was something we were just talking about, is there's some consequence to this. But moreover, the faster you go, the bigger the gravity wells become. So if you have a planet and you shrink the map down, the planet's gravity well becomes huge and kind of disproportionate. It's one of the problems, is all the gravity wells become disproportionate. So the world becomes, the space around things becomes really bumpy and difficult. And if your ship gets into these bumps, then you could destroy your ship. So you need a very hot pilot who's really good at what they do to sit up there and steer the ship through all of this, like all of a sudden these very dense, almost like clouds of gravity wells, because the faster you go, the bigger those become, the more it's like you're, at first you're just traveling along and it's kind of like a fog and nothing's really happening. But as time goes on, it's more like balloons, a room full of balloons that are just all, and if you touch the balloons, your ship blows up, sort of thing. And the faster you go, the more it's big balloons in this room, And you've got to get from one door to the other door through all these balloons, and you can't really touch any of them. And it becomes much more complicated as time goes on. So you can't go too fast, but your speed is totally dependent on how reactive, how sharp is your pilot. In our case, Mayrell's pretty sharp. She's a good pilot. She flies really well. She's got good reaction time. She grew up on a home ship, which is a ship that travels through all the cracks in space. And she grew up in one of those home ships. So she grew up flying from when she was a little child. And grew up kind of instinctually knowing how space works and in space. So she's a really good pilot. And so that's her thing. That's her shtick. She's good at that. But, it's normal. She's not spectacular. She's not like superhuman. She's just good at it, So they use her to be the pilot because she's good at it. But there are lots of people who are good at it. It's just that she's a little younger than everybody else because she grew up that way, but that's it. She's the race car driver who, grew up racing her dad's cars all the time, She just knows better a little bit. A little bit more instinct. So everybody should have some part in this dusting off scene. We talk about this stuff. Before I was leaving Princess on the ground, but now I'm thinking about it, and they could recover the Princess. They don't need her up. No, we need her on the ground because the peasants are revolting. See you in a sec. So we need to do a few things. One, we need to make sure that the Princess stays planet side. We'll come up with a line. Okay, prepping for battle. Let's talk about gravity. Gravity motes. And how much power can we devote? So we also need to ID the destroyer. Class and type. And indicate she's got more power. Okay. It's all right. It's all right. I'm just thinking through what needs to be in this scene, right? This scene requires us to say that we're leaving the MPV state side or on planet side. The MPV is the shuttlecraft. You're back finally. Hi, back finally. I'm Dad. Okay, the MPV stays planet side, so we need to make sure that we've got that in this scene. We need to talk about gravity motes because this is now where we want to talk about this. For Patsy, we talked about a gravity mote is a moat of gravity around a spacecraft that allows you to generate a wall effectively, so that missiles can't get in; they just get caught in the moat. And lasers will actually get, masers and lasers will actually get distorted through the moat. So it's shields, right? If you've got gravity control, you've got gravity motes. But it limits your travel ability. So I'm gonna actually do this real quick. Do this, and then do smooth shaded. So real quickly try to match this picture. Right. And then we're just going to sort of cap this real quick. And then that way, this is a dirty way of doing it, but it works. As this is effectively notes. So we'll put you here, show the gravity mote around you. Just give an idea of what a gravity mote looks like. Right. So we can take this and we can effectively merge it and take this to this to this to this to this. Control Shift I. All right, that's gravity mode. All right. Moving on through here, the MPV stays planet side. The gravity modes, how much power can we dedicate? Because how much power you dedicate to a gravity mode is how deep it can go. So we can sort of give an idea of how much defense can the QuaCk put up. We identify the DD, class and type. It's a destroyer, so she's bigger. And that's it. She's got more power than the QuaCk can field. So we already now have sort of an idea that no matter what, this incoming destroyer is more powerful than the QuaCk and produce more energy than the QuaCk can produce. So the QuaCk's motes aren't going to help her much. the moat might be able to keep. Hey, George. You're like, it's been almost an hour. I must have more scritches. More scritches. More scritches. Because I'm George, and George eats scritches. Name George. I'm a big fuzzy cat. He eats scritches all the time. Okay, you're gonna have to let me like get back to work at some point here, you know? So, all right. The one thing I really want to point out, though, at this point, moving down here, is okay. We need to make sure that she's got a plan. So this starts her. Actually, I've successfully sent one to. As he says hi. I sent one to Brent, and it made it. I now have all of the pieces parts to send Bellatrix Rising to people. Including, I now have the blue transfer things because I wanted them to be blue. So now I have blue bubble wrap folders. So all you need to do that is send. It's the price. I think it costs about $3 or $4 of shipping and handling. So we calculate that it's whatever plus $4 shipping and handling. I do both this and the tech manual is $15. If you're willing to do $15 plus $5 shipping and handling to my PayPal, then I can send it to you. I'm going to start doing shipments on Friday. Yep. So I think Arizona. So all you need to do is send, I guess, $19 so that it's 2 plus shipping and handling. And then send that and then PM me your address. The PayPal for that is down at the bottom right there. So all you need to do is paypal.me/GSDavisArt, send $19 to it. And I will, and with the $19 payment, if there's a notes field, and I think there is a notes field, put your address in there. And when you do, I will send it to you and it will be there. I ship out on Fridays, so be aware that I won't. And of course, it's a holiday season, so it won't go anywhere until Monday. But but I'll ship on Fridays. So that's how you do it. If you guys, and this is a future thing as well. If any of you would like a hard copy of Bellatrix Rising, please send. It's each copy is $7.50 by itself, plus $4 shipping and handling. So you know what? I should make a thing that I can just put up here and just like transfer to the page and then start the show with that, end the show with that. So that I've got my own little like thing that can go on here. We'll figure that out. You know what? Don't say that, because if you say that, you're totally never going to do it. So let's save this. Open. And go back here. Because if I say these things, I'll never do them. And you know it. We'll never do them. And then I'll be like, why didn't I do that? Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Well, I was thinking of putting it in the... Well, I'm going to have to redo the ending credits anyway. Because there's just no way around that. Just a live show background so I know that it's the full page. See you in a sec. So if we do this, I can cut that section over there so that it won't cut the what's its. And I can do speed, hold it down, delete that, and we can say new layer, make this sort of an advertising space, right? That will leave us the duct area on the right side, and I can do the things. Open. I'm not ready to quit my show yet this morning. I might in a minute, but I'm going to go over a little because I can, and I've got some work to do, and it sounds like fun and stuff like that. So, do we have physical copies anywhere of anything? Anywhere? Bueller? Is there a physical copy thing? I'm gonna hunt down physical copies of. Oh, that's great. I mean, not great, but you know what I mean. Open in a new window. Now let's go look for. Camera roll. Samsung DCI, because there's. I know I've taken photographs of this, right? So there's got to be somewhere photographs of this. Yep, there it is, right there. So if we take right up there, relations rising, state administration, state view, administration. Let's see if there's any other physical copies of these things. Oh, that's a good one. That's actually showing it being put into the shipping container thing. That one's good. We'll use that. I'm just moving any picture of these over administration for usage anytime. I'll move over some of the other stuff that I use. Oh, that's right. I've got this great drawing of Blue Streak that I'm working on right now, which is cool. It's cool. Should finish that someday. I'll finish that over here on the other station. So, which this week also means that we are going to be doing other things as well, as including reconfiguring our reconfiguring the office here. And when I do, it'll be a different critter. Okay, cool. I think we are pretty solid. Sweet. Okay. Oh, yeah. You're definitely part of the show. All of the copy these. Okay, now that I've done that, we've got. Yeah, I'm going to rebuild the office and rotate the camera so that it's facing this way, so that I've got my bookshelf behind me and everything like that. I'm going to have to move the warp core because I like putting the warp core back there. And I'm going to rotate everything over. Yeah, I'll see it in a second, Patsy. As I was saying earlier, I don't run. I had to run this browser. I'm running Firefox to do the restream because we were questioning whether Chrome was messing it up. So I don't have Chrome running all the time, and I do have Chrome running now, but I've got it stuck over on the Meta side where I'm working on GS Davis art. So what you should do, Patsy, is post it to QuaCk, because you belong to QuaCk too. You can post it to QuaCk. Okay, so what we did was this. Do you want a copy of this? Open with Clip Studio. Right? Look, with a shipping container. Behold, a shipping container. We will put that there, and we will shrink it down because it's huge. And we will rotate it. Like so. Yeah, so Patsy, Brent was my guinea pig. We had to go through all of the screwing it up, and I screwed it up once so that, no, not what I wanted. I screwed it up once, and it got like messed up going to his place, but it got there ultimately. It just took some time while I was trying to figure out, how am I doing this thing? How is this thing working? Does anybody know? Is this thing on? Okay, so we can not save that. And open this one. Yeah, you can. I'm just saying I will get to it at some point. I'm not going to be able to get to it at the moment, but that's all right. We'll get there. Start here. No, let's not do that. If we do that, we can't actually do all of the other things. We'll do that. Comics now shipping. I should probably put the Oxtail logo on here. I thought you were part of the other QuaCk. Quasar Art Collective, public group, and it says, yeah, so the first post should be Pepper's post on August 24th was the newest activity, with the kids around the campfire being told a story. I'm trying to delete the other page, which somebody figured out how to do, and that was me. First, go. Hang on real quick. I'm fixing a problem for someone else, as always happens. Or 6 terabyte drive. I can't believe I have 6 terabytes of stuff. I'm just gonna say that while I'm here. 6 terabytes of stuff is like bizarre to think about. Cloud drives, Google Drive. Things are pretty rough out here on the drive, I'm noticing. Archiving. Okay, what's going on? And where is the shared data? Everyone? Yeah, maybe. Oh, yeah, here's the share. That's better. Oh, Jake and Victoria put up all kinds of crap. It's awesome. Good job, guys. Good job. My archiving team is doing their archiving job. Weird. I will add. Add a share. Get access to. Okay, that became more complicated all of a sudden. So that's that. Sorry. How much for a signed cup? About the same, but be sure to request that. So if you want it to be signed, make sure you request it. I mean, I guess I should charge more, but I'm not gonna. And we'll let everybody argue about it. You can pay more if you feel like it needs to be. If a signed copy needs to be more expensive, that's up to you. Okay. Order copies. You know what? I should do that. Do you want a copy of Matrix Rising? Because I feel like if I start charging for my signature, people are going to not want to buy it necessarily. And honestly, that's kind of weird. And I don't know. And maybe it's just imposter syndrome and weird. And I don't know. I don't know, guys. Anyway. Send. $7.50 a copy. Or per issue. Per issue. Plus $4 shipping and I think $4 is there. Less $10 international. National. That sounds about right, I think. Two. Oh. Do that. There. Nobody will ever read it that way. Please include which issues you wish to purchase. Because people won't. They'll just send me like $50 and I'll be like, I don't know what does that mean? How many issues? There we go. Because otherwise, I know that people will do that. They'll just send me like issues on Fridays. That way I can I go down to see my buddy Troy on Fridays generally. Please, let's say 12 to 15 days for delivery. That should be fair, right? I mean, that you allow 12 to 15 days. That means that I could be sick on a Friday or whatever. That'll give me, some room to be, a space cadet or forget it or whatever. Ship out comics on Fridays. There. I mean, it's not pretty, but it'll do the job, right? It'll do the job. And then I will just add the Latrix Rising trim to this so that it's... That's great. You can't go all the way over there. There we go. We'll just make this kind of like
trim it up a little so that it looks like something from Bellatrix Rising. There we go. There we go. Much, much, much better. Ooh. Shouldn't be. Well, I feel like that'll be complicated, but you know what? I'll live. Let's do this, and this, and do this to just give some color to it. This. There we go. That's better. And then I can take and just give it good here. Select comics thing. Multiply. Oh, and your address. Address. Which issues? How many? Otherwise, I won't know. There we go. As you know, people will send like $50. They'll be like, I want issue 2. You'll be like, to whom? Dang. Yes. What number? What issue? You wish to purchase. There. That works. That works. We'll put this up here. Maybe we'll make it a little larger. Like that. Yes, I like that transformation. All right. There. Put that corner right there. We'll do this. And just a little bit of space constraint here. Make it look a little nice. At least try to do something. And you could probably brighten it up even just a smidge. There. Do. Where's my what was I doing? Oh yeah, layer. We want layer controls. We want controls. Where are my controls? What do you mean where the controls are? Tunnel correction. Level correction. Bring up the levels of this. So now you can see it better. There. Now, Shift E. Save as. Really show PNG. Choose Bellatrix issues 2022 layer chat. And we can go over
here to the overlays and upload now from the Daily Show, where it will say Lasers issue 2. Once that comes up, then I can do this. Right? And that's awesome. Let me close that. We don't need to keep that. There. Perfect. Issue 2, 3. I'm here to help. Now we only have this scene to really figure out what we're doing. This scene right here. I'm still working. And that's YOU''RE. And I love you, Colton. You could jump in here now that you are no longer being killed by your delivery thing. You wanted to jump in here and get some work done too. But I am thinking out story stuff. And I'm on a roll, and my kiddo is still out like a light, and the wife is downstairs being happy and blissful sewing stuff, I think. So, if you joined, I'd get a break and go downstairs real quick. And hey, Colton, check this out. Now that I know how to do this, now that I know how to send things physically through the mail, we can now send things physically through the mail. Like whole comics and stuff. Freedom schmeedom. You say that like you're supposed to clean or something, weirdo. Yeah, actually, I'm shipping, bro. Actually, that's something we're gonna do here in a minute too. I'm gonna clean up this section of the world over here as well. So it's probably better if you don't actually join the stream, because if you join the stream now, I probably would feel like I need to stick around for another hour or two. But the reality is I'm starting to kind of slow down a little bit. Oh, you got an all official with Brent here. All official with names and stuff like that. That's all right. All right, but I do want to kind of think these things out. If we would just talk. Yeah, I don't know if I've got another hour or two in me. I'm kind of... I kind of like the idea of what can I do to help? Right? So from the Commonwealth DD, because I feel like that gives Brent proves 4.5 hours. That proves a couple of things that are going on. One,
Commonwealth is not necessarily bad people. And in fact, what will happen is, did you just get into that bag, you goofy cat? Okay, whatever. We want to prove that the Commonwealth isn't just, hand-wringing bad guys. So, what can we do to help? And that's going to make everything different for Chang's opinion here. So, this is where she says, we'd love the assist. No shooting. I probably will do. You're really comfortable in there. George has decided to park himself in this. I've got a reusable bag, so it's a cloth bag, and it's on the floor here. And George has parked himself in it, and he's a happy cat. He cannot be seen. You cannot see him. Maybe a short story wouldn't be bad. I think I want to establish some parts of these things about drives. Right? So I think part of it's going to be this here, where in this scene, we've got a problem. Commonwealth destroyer captain says we've got a problem. My orders changed. We're taking a moment. Yeah. Yeah, he's perfectly. You know what? I've got nothing better for that bag to do, so we can just sit in there and be it. I have to stop you. And it's don't throw your life away. Sort of thing. We have this system in 10 hours. Now, so I feel like that's actually probably this final page right here. Right. Maybe there's a scene up here where Better Spec is serious that something weird is happening. Right? Maybe that's this scene. Maybe the captains are talking up there. So, and this 2-page scene or 3-page scene is better spec'ing. Whoa, 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 whoa. None of that. Don't be mean. Just the pixel. There we are. The pixel. I need to find the pixel. This. You here. I think that's probably a better setup. So, and instead, see you later, Patsy. There we go. That's what I think is needing to happen here. Okay. There we go. Okay, so that's what I think we're going to do. So here's how this works. Here's how this is going down. Don't know what the captains are talking about here, but it gives us a moment to be real about things, right? So the way this is rolling out is this. We think that everything is. We need to know at this point in time that we need to put somebody in charge. So captains and we need pen and senator. Senator is temporarily Mr. President. Okay, so that senator we picked up, he's the only ranking member on the planet now. So he's temporarily Mr. President until they can arrange new, until they can get all the systems back online, so that they can arrange a new vote. Sure you are, Cole. That's what they all say, because they're at their desk. Anyway, so the senator is now Mr. President. Needs to be important to know. Alex has left the ship, so the senator is there out in the middle of that. That works. This gives us 3 pages of which the 2 captains can talk to each other. And in fact, we have the 3 most important people in this system together right now. So maybe 3 most important moment system politically. Okay, so these are the 3 most important people in the system. That's it. Okay. Now, in this scene down here, Better Spec is looking for what's going on. So this is, kind of looking at space. This gives us some in-space exposition room. And then, during this scene, whatever happens here, but then, and then Better Spec picks up Gravity Footprints. Because this is the lowest point of the story, right here. This is going to be our lowest point. This is the next freak out point. So, and then Skipper, and then we cut back to Bridge, where she's mid scene, and CWDD doesn't name it. Is saying, yeah, sorry. Saying, sorry. Got a problem. That's us. Okay. Captain's talk. Moment is important. This is a tactically important system. Right? So what I'm doing here is starting to place the points of the plot in their locations. Right? I'm putting the plot pieces in their correct locations on the story arc. Right? Like, what are the goals of these plots? Where are we headed with this story? What's the arc for? Boy, not only did George find his way into that bag, but I think he's conked out. He went to sleep in the little bag. He's a happy little cat. All right. Whatever happened. It's bigger than moment. System. Okay, so whatever has happened here, it's bigger than moment. And that's a thing that he knows. He's got that. He figured that out. Because, extending to 50 light years, there's trace of ... Gravity footprints. There we go. If I extend my reach out to 50 light years, I can see traces of, hey, look at this big fleet coming in. Oh, wait, that's not good. Yeah. but that'll give it so that we set up in issue 3 that there was something that's happened here. A new highway has shown up. Right? Okay, good. So now we switch to this issue. Because we're going to need in this scene at this. So we bring out the Mars. The Mars shows up in tactical area. And the captain of the Mars warns off the fleet. So captain, because you're never going, even with 2 light cruisers and a heavy cruiser, there's nothing you can do against a battleship. She's a battleship. A battleship and a ton of Unity fighters. And at least 7 heavy cruisers and 25 light cruisers and many squadrons of destroyers. I mean, you know, the Florist carries everything. So, warns off. One thing I think I do is you can stay and help. If you want, because they'll let them stay and help. If you want to keep helping, help enough. Because the Unity is going to keep this. It's not going to actually come in here with a big threat. Also, they didn't know what's going on as they just warped into the zone. And then we need a moment. We need Jane being confused. She's going to be like, what? Then we have the wrap-up. The wrap-up takes place on the Polaris. So we need to have, buildings that indicate we're in the dome of the Polaris here with moment hanging up in the sky. Right? Because the Polaris is in orbit around and ships are out everywhere. Stuff is going on. The planet is getting things going on, happening, stuff like that. And then we have visiting the Admiralty, because this is where the Polaris commander, CEO of Polaris, is as an admiral. And so we've got, yes sir, no sir sort of thing. And so debrief. How'd you do this? Oh, good morning, George. George is like, I am done with my small nap. It was a cat nap. I get that. Moment has a very direct line to the latrix. These are the things we need to make sure we stay here. Set this up so you can have the bag to your heart's content, Cat. As that way, keep playing in the ball. Make yourself at home. And that will change the dynamics. Yep. Indeed. For all of the wall. And I'm just putting in the things I want to think about in these scenes because we'll write them up in a bit. Don't worry about it, and then we can work this out. Don't apologize. That was good thinking. So he's saying, "You were going to foul the system, weren't you?" And she's like, "Yes, sir. Sorry, sir. Don't apologize. That was good thinking. Least casualties." Why are you still stuck? Sort of thing. Right? So that's a personal moment. I want to make sure that I put in there that the Admiralty is like, why are you still stuck here? That was pretty high level thinking. It's easily something that we could use in a heavy cruiser commander. Why are you still here? Sort of thing. Except that I don't want to lead that question because she doesn't have an answer. So we don't want to lead that question that way. We'll have to think about a better way of leading that question when we get there. But that's all right. I'm not ready to write that scene yet, so not a big issue. On moment, we have Senator. He wants to. What does he want to do? Senator wants to go back to the Latrix. At least it's quick to get back to the Latrix now. used to be really hard, now it's really easy. Okay, cool. But he has to stay for a while. All right. Goodbye. Because like now we've already set up that the Kittiwake's about to embark on the next mission. That's here. We'll gather our stuff and head out. And then goodbye. And then we see Alex. Can I join you? Sure, sort of thing. That puts Alex back on the Kittiwake, which is where she should be. So Alex is back on the Kittiwake. We'll put then that's effectively these two pieces here. Goodbye. Can I join you? And then we work out. All right, not bad. And then we will move to these here. And this should be something like a big picture of our ship right here. And she zips towards the sun or something. I don't know. We haven't figured out what the tech is teching here yet. That's all right. Okay, prepare. Attack. The tech is teching. Tech. This, by the way, is a Star Trek joke. I know you're all shocked and whatever, but 100 million years ago, we managed to get our hands on a prep script for a Star Trek Next Generation episode. And something was happening in the episode, and the writer that was writing it didn't know what the technobabble was, so he was going to hand it off to the tech consultant on the show. And that's literally what he wrote. He said, Captain Picard says, prepare the tech. And, Worf says, the tech is teching. And then Data says, tech. And that was what it was written out as, because they had to gerbil the goobie-doo-bobs. They had to reconfigure the warp core. They had to do whatever. But they wanted to pass that off to the tech consultant to do all of that. I'll come back and think about what this tech consultant thing happening is, because it's going to be a rule that we'll have to stick with from now on. So whatever I do here can be used tactically against me later on, or tactically against a character later on. So I need to make sure I've got it figured out exactly. Whatever damage they're about to do to Moment's system is big enough of a thing to alter the world of the Bellatrix Rising. There will be nothing to stop the bad guys from doing that on the system. So I'm going to have to think it through. Does it only happen to G-class stars? Can you only do it on alternating Thursdays under a full moon? What are the rules to this? so that I can put those all in here so that whenever she says, whenever we're doing this, can we do this? And well, yeah, it's a G class star, it's a full moon, and my grandmother's social security number ends in a odd number. So yes, sir, we can do this. That way, we can't just have it set up so the bad guys can just dump this on every star system. Continue cleaning. I will see you tomorrow, Colton, or tonight. Yeah, I'll be on tonight if you get done cleaning and wish to join. We're back to now. I'm not working for the rest of the year, so I'm not in classroom for the rest of the year. So you can join us tonight, and I'll be back to nights and days. So I'll see you tonight if y'all want to join. I'll be continuing to do this because we are homing in on this. We are almost at a point where I can write up a script. So, no, see, he's not on last name basis with you anymore, Brent. Colton's now back to calling you friendly person. Anyway, okay. Massive hit, massive gravity hit. We're going to come in here. It's 12 o'clock. I think I'm almost done. But I do want to say looks like a fold. All right. I have done a lot of good design work on both of these so that it solidly fits the whole issue, and this episode is solid. I'm liking where it's going. I like where we're headed with this. We've got a lot of good character development potential. We've got some places where we can sprinkle in bits and pieces of character development. It's giving me some good space to work on, and I think we're good. And I feel like we've also got kind of at the end of this a feeling that something's weird about Alex. She's joining the ship, but she's not going to be evil about it. She's already declared that in that scene with the cat. The cat's like, take over a ship, and she's like, let's not. What if we tried the other direction? What if we tried to befriend them? What if we tried to ask them for help? And then, well, they won't believe you. And she goes, well, maybe that just takes time then. Maybe I'm just going to have to spend time trying to get them to understand what's going on. And that way, you now know she's got a mission. We're doing something different. It's not the trope. I hate tropes. So it's not the tropey, we will sneak on board and sneakily take over the ship. It'll be different. So that'll work. How leveled down are we? It says QuaCk's not on the run anymore. We need to start out calmer, though. Do what you can. I actually kind of feel like we should say, let's do what we can. And the reason I say that is back to not wanting a hand-wringing. I'm trying to think of this in a different way. What if we had, like, modern day, and I will call this in a few minutes because I think I wanted to put these last ideas in. It's modern day. It's maybe not. Let's do this a little different. Let's say it was 1975. So we're coming out of the end of the Cold War. Bad things have happened around the world, but or around our galactic point. And you've got a Russian ship and an American PT boat, almost. Maybe not a PT boat, slightly larger than a PT boat. And they're helping this area that the Russians are going to end up taking over. The Russian fleet's on its way. There's nothing we can do. The American fleet is markedly farther away. So the Russian fleet just got signal, and the American PT boat just got signal that no matter what, the Russian fleet's going to be there with a lot of heavy hardware within a day. They've got 24 hours. But the Russian captain isn't like your classic Russian captain. He's, not distrustful. He's like, look, you're trying to help. I'm trying to help. Let's see what kind of help we can finish before all hell breaks loose. Because once the Russian fleet gets here, this is a war zone. And there's nothing we can do about it. I mean, I like the idea that they're just doing their job. They're doing what they were ordered to do. They don't like this. This is not something they're hot on. This isn't this isn't a so if you are reading this comic and you think, gee, Willikers, this seems very unrealistic, come back to this episode and you'll see what I was thinking about. Because I was thinking about this. I had thought processes on this. And my thought processes are, distrust is a thing that's earned. You earn distrust. But you can also earn respect. So if this captain just hasn't quite yet earned distrust of the Unity, because he hasn't bought into the propaganda, or he hasn't been part of a military action that actually went south, or the Unity ended up in kind of an offsides position, or whatever, he might just be following orders and doing what he's told. He likes the pay. He's getting the pay, and that's cool. But that doesn't mean he necessarily doesn't have the ability to help out here. So kind of like, what can we do to help? So I like the idea of, we said it would be a war zone. What can we do? Right. And then we go over here, and when they're talking down here, right? We need to grab that and say, if the Commonwealth shows up, this is a war zone. Right? Right. So I like the idea that in issue 2, the captains are talking with the senator. And the senator, they're all talking, and the Commonwealth captain's saying, "Hey, I am just here to assist. I don't want a war any more than you guys do, and I know darn well that if my people show up here, it's going to be a war zone. And things are going to get ugly. So, I'm not pushing this. I'm not making it worse. I'm just going to help you guys fix this, and I'm going to go on my way. I had a mission. I'll go back to my mission." You know what I mean? Like, he's really helping out. And he's trying to do the right thing and everything like that. And then we get back to here where she feels Chang is going to feel betrayed. But the Commonwealth captain's like, "Look, I don't have any choices. There's nothing I can do. My fleet's on its way. Get out of here while you can." Then we move to issue 3. And we pick up where that left off. And the Commonwealth destroyer captain saying, "Look, we have 18, 20 hours before the Commonwealth fleet shows up. When they do, this is going to be a war zone like we talked about it." So that connects both of these issues together. I'm very glad, Brent, that you cajoled me into doing these episodes, or doing these 2 issues together, because now I can talk back and forth between the 2 issues, so we can kind of figure out we can make scenes connect. Anyway, we said it was a war zone. I'm sorry, we're just gonna have to figure it out. But we've got 20 hours or whatever, so that gives us time to come out of that issue with this scene here being calm, because I really want this scene to be a calm scene. I don't want this to be the war room. Everybody is sitting around with stern looks going, "We've got 5 hours to figure this problem out." I want Chang to have time to get coffee, sit down, think it out, ask people what they think. I mean, I'm almost tempted to say this should be like them in the shower almost, because that would be so degraded all the way down to 0 on this, a 0 point. Because I want to say that at least for the next 20 hours, they're safe. Nobody's stressed out for 20 hours. Right? So let's move here. Green, thank you. And say Chang gets coffee. Thinks it out. She has time. Okay. And that way, I know that whatever this scene is, it's calm and laid back. Maybe even that is the scene. She's like in her quarters in bed. She gets up. She can't sleep, so she gets up. She makes coffee and wanders the halls of the ship for a little bit to think things through. And that's when she runs into Tum. And, it's kind of like, what do we do? There's nothing we can do to solve this problem. And Tum's the one that's like, well, you could always, foul the system. I almost feel like that should be I feel like we've got way too many things going on here. Like way too many pieces running around. Maybe I'm not so hot on all of these pieces. Right, like something simpler. Well, you know what would be a great place for this to be a discussion topic? Is that forward lounge. There's a lounge on the forward deck. That it's got the windows, the 4 windows on the top. It's a lounge. If she goes in there and Tom is sitting there thinking or doing work or whatever, that gives a nice quiet moment for her to sit next to Tom and say, okay, what do I do about this, bud? Tom is her best friend, so they're going to sit there and chat about this. And maybe Tom knows something about fouling the system, like scorch earthing the system. She's like, I'm not going to scorch earth the system. That's ridiculous. Rather, seems like it's a better idea to not scorch earth the system. I'm doing good. I'm just going to keep going. Keep thinking and coming up with ideas. So I keep going. But I am hungry, and lunch is passing here, and so I'm going to keep thinking this through. But while I'm talking it out, this is working really nice. Can't sleep. Don't leave me. Can't sleep. He goes to lounge. Tom's there. That is your job, is to listen. Thank you. So Tom is at the lounge up front. When she finds him there, it's Tom comes up with the sabotage. Idea. Chain. It's about fouling. Then Chang wakes the senator. Well, no, maybe she doesn't wake him. She'll need to think that she'll need to get permission. I like the asteroid. Oh, you weren't here. You left. Okay, so here's what she's going to do. What has happened is this. Okay, she goes and sits down next to Tom. Tom says, she says, "What do I do? I mean, we can't just abandon moment to become a Commonwealth location. It's at the gateway of the wall. We lose contact with all of the stars on the other side of the wall. This is the pivot point. So we can't lose it, tactically speaking." And Tom's like, we could foul it. I mean, we could screw it up. We could sabotage it. We could blow up moments so that the world's gone. And she's like, whoa, how'd you get there? And then, well, no, wait a minute. What if we were to release Snurgleblatt particles in the star and then make the star do boop-de-boop, bip-de-bop, which will make a 1 light year in space null. So for 1 light year around moment, you won't be able to travel in space. And then Tom's like, what would that do? I'd just buy you a year. And then she'd be like, well, yeah, but it would take a year for that fleet to get here. They'd have to drop into normal space 1 light year out, and travel here at light speed, which means they'll get here in a year. By then, we'll figure something else out. And besides, a 1 year foul isn't going to cause a problem for moment. It would be like, it just means that all the traffic in and out of moment is going to have to slow down. It'll be a slow zone. That's what we should call it. A 1 year slow zone. 1 light year slow zone. So that will mean that the fleet coming in is going to have to drop out of in space 1 light year out and then spend a year traveling into system. So then Tom says, well, what about the destroyer? He'll be trapped here too. Right, exactly. What's the worst that can happen? It's going to take them a year to rebuild everything anyway. Well, yeah, but we can't get support in here either. Or it's going to be just the destroyer and us working on rebuilding moment during that time. So, that's her plan, is to, introduce deedly-wop particles to the star, which will cause a slow zone around all of moment, and I'll drop it out. And we can then, but that's what I was saying before by the tech is teching. I'll have to think this tech through. What are the rules for it? Because if we introduce this now, then there's nothing to stop the Commonwealth from putting slow zones around every star and preventing anyone from getting into it. So it'll mess up I've got to come up with better rules as to why that slow zone works. But that's her plan. It won't kill anybody. It's just going to drop moment 1 year behind everybody else. 1 year is not a problem. That's 200 days. Because of course years are a little. And it, it's a parsec or whatever. It's a half a parsec, or it's a light arc. A light arc would probably be 200 light days. So it'd be, it's not even that bad. It's only 200 days. So, right. Well, I think it needs to be like a specific type of spectral class. It'll need to be a G star. G stars only. And not something technical locked. That'll give us one other thing that needs to be known in the story. Because there's a specific thing that is going on the super story that's all top secret about these stars. So they need to be not top secret. It's not a top secret star. And what is that? Well, you'll find out later. Part of the overriding plot. But there are specific rules for certain stars, so that'll work. Right? Yeah, that's a good one. It could mess up orbits. Yeah, moment's already messed up. I'm not leaking all of the stories here. It's all right. It can only work on G-class stars, and it's not locked. I feel like that's enough. A 1 light year slow zone around a world has sort of a negative to it, right? Because I mean, even if you were to nuke your own system, so to speak, um, even if you were to nuke your own system, you wouldn't be able to get your ships in and out. It would suddenly become a problem. The only thing that's a real issue is if they were to nuke a star that's on a highway, because that's the whole point, right? Because if you're on a highway, then it would disrupt the highway, or the highway would override it, and you'd be able to warp in, warp out of the system, even if you couldn't travel faster than light, FTL out of the system. So you'd be able to fold in, but you wouldn't be able to FTL in, because you'd be able to use the in-space drives. In-space drives would be out, but the fold jumps would still be able to hop in. So, and it's fouling the system. So I mean, it creates tiny gravity dots in there. That's it. It creates tiny gravity wells. Well, we don't want to do that to moment, because of course the whole point would be that after we've done this, we're going to be stuck here. So, okay, here's what we're doing. This is what it does. Creates gravity wells. Tiny. How will that help? Question mark. Gravity wells are huge and in space. It'll be like filling the system with marbles. Yeah, right. Unchartable. No one can fly through that. Oh, they don't need to appear or disappear. They just need to be small enough that in your spacecraft, if you're in normal space, it's little bumps, just little turbulence. Nothing big. You won't even really feel it. Your ship will just kind of move just slightly like this and stuff like that. But whenever you go into in space, all gravity wells increase in size. They become problem children, fast. So if you're in space, you can't travel into the system. The system would be filled with grenades, effectively. It'd be like a claymore inside there. All it is just a bunch of marbles in there that will hit your car while driving at 60 miles an hour. So that's good because that gives us a little bit of I get to be able to talk a little bit about how in space works. And that's one of the things that I don't want all of these scenes to be useless. So that'll allow me to talk a little bit about in space and why we have to, because that's simple, it's easy. It'll just, and then it can be like, if we introduce, beetle bop particles, G-class stars can take beetle bop particles, right? Yeah. Well, what happens if we put beetle bop particles in there? Nothing. I mean, it just create a whole bunch of little teeny gravity wells all over the place. But that's not a big deal. Yeah, but what would happen to little teeny gravity wells if they were in space? Oh, it'd be like a bunch of marbles out there. You know what I mean? It'd be like sitting a claymore out. Well, I guess the truth is you would be able to navigate them at some point in time. If you imagined, because see, my thought would be like, you can almost have it where Tum is saying these things and Chang is coming back with these ideas. What happens if we put beep-de-bop particles in the sun? Nothing. It would just create a whole bunch of weird, tiny gravity wells all over the place that would be little, but that wouldn't change anything. It would just buffet a ship around. I mean, the ship would just bump around a little bit. That's not going to stop a fleet. And she's like, yeah, but it would if you were in space where all the gravity wells increase in size. Oh, yeah, that'd be like putting claymore mines out there. You know what I mean? Like, you could easily say that. It'd become a minefield. And she could say, how far would it be a minefield? And you go, like, half a parsec. Wow, that'd be a big deal. Yeah, see, we figured this out. I think we've got this. And they are chartable at some point, but again, it's kind of like if you imagine a snowstorm, right? That's frozen in time. So all the snow is out there, frozen in midair. You could chart them all. You could even chart a minefield. But it's going to take time. It would take forever. You know what I mean? And you certainly couldn't chart it. And that actually is good. That's good, because what could happen then is you'd end up with, because I actually like that. I like the idea that they could chart it ultimately. Because then she's really not producing something that will permanently destroy Moment. It will not permanently ruin the system, but it's definitely going to slow it down. I mean, the Commonwealth ships are going to have to drop out and map it before they can get back into it. And by mapping it, they're still going to have to be in real space, right? So they'll drop out at 1.5 light years, and it'll take 1.5 years to tootle in, half a parsec out. They'll realize something's wrong, and because that'll come up on their gravity monitor as soon as they're flying in. Their pilot is going to suddenly come up on Moment, which has a big gravity well they'll be used to, and then all of a sudden there'll be all these other gravity wells which just pop in. All of a sudden they'd be like, what? Whoa, all these gravity wells. Yeah, it would take forever to they'll be untangling those speed bumps for years. I like that, because then she's not permanently dropping Moment out of the system. It'll just become an ugly mess to fly in and an ugly mess to fly out. And you'll have to, when you're flying in and out of the system, you're going to have to take the route, like her, in her mind, she's seeing 20 years from now, you'll have pilots who have the travel in and travel out maps for moment that are, kind of like, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to kind of go around this and under there to get out. And nobody's going to like it. They're all going to hate it. But at least they will have stopped the fleet from getting into moment. I like that better. That's less of a oh god, you're ruining the entire system, and more of a um, more of a like a more, and it sounds more like, especially if she and Tom were sitting next to each other and you've got an engineer, you know. How far from the star to the edge is it in light years? Not one light year out. The edge is usually about, like, to the bow shock of the star, is what you're saying. It's about, I don't know. I think it's only about, like, depending on the star, probably about 2 light weeks, 3 light weeks, maybe a light month, right? So, um, I don't think it should go out to the bow shock. Ooh, yeah. If we start now or in the next couple of minutes, in the next 20 hours, we would cover 75% of the system, something like that. The problem is, I don't want her to commit to it before the Dolores shows up. Because actually, I don't want her to trash the system. So let's go on ahead and write that in. It will only go to the bow shock of the star. Well, yes, but the Commonwealth fleet is approaching Lee. Leeward. I don't know if I'm seeing what you're trying to convey, but that's all right. I'll get there. Hang on. Star. Bow shock. Oh yeah. I'm good with that. That's not a problem. We can make sure that, and that way, all of the effect of this will be only in this zone. But since the fleet is coming in this way, it'll be fine, because the system, because it means that also everybody will have to travel into moment from the bow shock, because everything in here will become bubble soup, right? And so, oh yeah, no, I don't want to do that. I want to have a discussion at some point where Chang has resigned herself to staying. Because once she does this, it'll bubble up the entire area. And so I really like the idea that Chang is stuck here. Because that's another discussion that I want to have. between Chang and one of the other characters, which is you were ready to just settle down here. She's like, maybe I liked that idea. You know what I mean? What I really want is I want Chang to go, yeah, I was willing to settle down on Moment. I was ready to just call it quits, park us there, and set up a house and have a life where I just live the rest of my years out. You know what I mean? I want her to have that discussion down the road. So it's very important that whatever Chang does locks both of them in for a year. Because she figures 1 year's not going to hurt the rest of her service staff. 1 year just means that in a year, some ship will come by and get them and pull them out. But in 1 year, she can convince herself to stay out of service. And maybe that's what it was. Maybe that's what's on the next issue. Maybe that's what's here. Right? Maybe in 1 year, I want to stay. We'll come back to that. So, I'm going to bubble up this entire system. Right. Yeah, so that's important. I don't want them to have a ticking clock to get out. I want her to, the moment she introduces Beetlebop particles into the star, the entire gravity of the system becomes bubbled up like bubble wrap. And suddenly everything's a problem child. And it becomes difficult to get in and difficult to get out. Super dangerous to be in the system. And then at the end of this, we've got 45 minutes. Yeah, she does have a ticking clock, but not that ticking clock. They're not escaping. She needs to talk to everybody. So, right. Yeah, see, 1 year isn't so bad. It's like extended shore leave, right? She's like, yeah, we'll just be on shore leave for a year. And if we do this, it'll burn out our in-space engines. That's all right. We'll put new engines on, and then we need to ask if the senator's okay with it because he's now the president, Mr. President of the system. Right. Okay, good. That's the plan. Right. And then we have Alex and the cat. And the Alex and the cat, we first introduced the cat. And you're like, hey, there's a cat just like you. You're a cat. Right. Cat comes in and starts talking. And then the cat's like, well, you know that they're going to bubble up this system, right? They're going to foul the system. And Alex says, yeah, but they're not going to have time to do it before everything changes. So she knows something else is going on. Alex does, instinctually. So then we get back up here, prepare the tech, we're getting ready to do this. We're getting ready to foul the system. These 2 pages, and then there's a gravity hit. I'm getting a big gravity hit. What, us? No, we didn't do it. It's not the star. Looks like a fold. So maybe we'll put, we didn't start yet. It's not us. It looks like a fold. There. And then the Polaris shows up. Then the Mars is deployed. And and they say, this is the UMC Mars. The system is a Unity system. We're here to render aid, and then pop goes the result. And it occurs to me that if we do this timing correctly, then Commonwealth's not here yet. So, and since the Mars doesn't know it, we'll put Mars tactical, gravity, footprint, inbound, looks like Commonwealth, then the Mars warns them off. Oh, I think that it'd be much more impressive if a battleship and her battle group decides to win. The UMC Mars is a big ship, right? So the Mars shows up and says, "This is the UMC Mars and Battle Group 4." Like, oh, yeah, it's a little. That's a your 3 light cruisers and 1 heavy cruiser is nothing to a battleship and her battle group. So the battle group just showed up, and like all of Battle Group 4 is there, and so. But since, like I said, since the Polaris doesn't know what's going on, then she'll be like, oh, there's an inbound battle group. There's an inbound group of Commonwealth ships. Let's warn them off. Okay. Hey, this is a battle group. Unless you're coming in to help, well, actually, it'd be fine. Rendering aid. Yeah, this is the UMC Mars and Battle Group 4 to inbound Commonwealth flight group. If you're rendering aid, please report to Admiral Bob Smith on level 15 when you arrive. Your arrival gate is here. You know what I mean? Like that would actually be kind of funny. Like if they come in and they're like, yeah, well, looks like a bunch of Commonwealth people are trying to come in to help. Be aware that if you activate new weapon systems, it'll be considered a hostile act, and we will have to take action. And then we need, sir, there is Corvette here. Oh, okay. Oh, sit rep Corvette. And that way it's like, okay. I mean, think about this from the point of view of the Polaris. The Polaris was like, hey, look, a new highway has appeared between here and Moment. That can't be good, right? Because Moment's kind of tactically bad. So the Admiral's like, you know what? Let's initiate a fold. Yeah, that's a great idea. We'll fold to the system. And they fold into the system, and they pop in, they go, planets are all out of alignment. That's weird. Hey, I've got a bunch of gravity footprints coming in from out of system. They all look like the Commonwealth. Maybe they're trying to help. Maybe they're not. If they're not, it's fine. So, let's open a gravity channel here. Beep. This is the Battle Group 4. Yeah, I mean, that's with the Polaris here. She's got all the abilities to handle everything on the. I mean, it's a city. It's a city. So there's hospitals and there will be all kinds of stuff there at the aid. But Commonwealth CLs. Also, planets out of alignment. And distress beacons. Right, so we've got beacons, planets of alignment. What the hell's happening here? Sort of thing. I think we've got this scene pretty clean too. Yeah. Then the Commodore, who's in charge of that Mars, be like, "Oh, good. There's a Corvette here. Oh, good. We can get some answers." UMC Mars to UMC Kittiwake. That's your slip map. Okay, good. Yeah, because I love the idea that the Mars doesn't know what's happening. The Mars is unclear. You know what I mean? It's not obvious. It just showed up in system, and planets aren't in the right place. Everything is screwed up. We've got a lot of distress beacons going off all over the place, and we have one destroyer and one Corvette, but their weapons are cool. So, that way, you know that, because if they come in Corvette and destroyer or weapons high, and they'd be like, you two need to be like separated. You can put in different rooms. All right. I've now gone almost to 4 hours. I think I'm pretty good on this one. I will keep thinking about it over the next few hours, but I am hungry. And I really want to eat food. I haven't had much of a breakfast. Stuff like that. So I'm off to food. I will see you guys this afternoon or this evening for the evening show, and we will continue this. And we're pretty good here. I'm feeling like we are way close to scripting stuff up. We just need now particles. Yeah, I hear him downstairs, so I figure we're fine. So, okay, thanks guys for joining me. I appreciate it. We'll be back again tonight, and as always, keep your eyes on the stars.